Hey honey, what's your Midgard? My name is Michelle from Throw Another Letter. Hello and welcome back to my channel, and this is a wrap-up. Here's another bunch of recent reads I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 10 physical books here, and I will tell you about all of the books I read in April, May, and June. And you know, some of these were great. Some of them I didn't like so much, and some of them I'm like, yeah, I rated it a 4-star. And then now that I really think about it, I'm like, I had my very first 2-star ever happen in June, and that's I read 21 books in between April, May, and June. I'm really proud of myself. I read 4,897 pages. I had about an average of like 4 stars. A lot of these books I owned, which I was really happy about. So we're getting back to exactly what I wanted to do throughout the entire year, and that is read physical. So the very first book that I read was An Appetite for Miracles by Laken Z. Kemp, and I rated this a 4 stars. This one is also told in verse, and I felt like it was really beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember very much. Something about when I'm reading ebooks, if I get confused at any point in time, it's harder for me to get back into what is being told. But it is a beautiful story about like Alzheimer's and music, and I highly recommend it. I myself really want to read this in a physical form because it was an art before it came out. The next book that I read was Viva Lola Espinosa by Alyssa Roan, and this one for me, I read it was 3 stars. I didn't really care for it, not because it was just like there were just certain parts of the story that I just wasn't a fan of. There were parts where of like her traveling and trying to figure out what she likes in people and things like that, the inner work. I liked reading about that, but there were some other parts I was like, what? I'm so confused. Don't take my word for it. I still do recommend it, just because if I didn't like it, that doesn't mean that you aren't gonna like it. Also, the cover is gorgeous. And then we'll get to our first physical book that I read, and that is Barbarian's Prize by Ruby Dixon. Thank you so much to Alex, not Pucks and Paperbacks Alex, but my friend Alex. Thank you so much for buying this for me, honey. I love this. He dropped it off, and he also bought me Priest, and he like gave me head pats, and he was like, good luck with your porn books. I was like, you know what? He brought them back to me while it was like April and it was still blizzarding. And so he brought them in the midst of a blizzard while it was snowing and you could barely get in the yard. And he's like, have fun with your porn books. And I was like, I love you. Thank you. This is about Tiffany and Luke. You know, I read this so fast that my brain's like, what happened? But actually, no, I really enjoyed this because it does talk a little bit about like the PTSD from what happened in the very beginning and the way that it has affected all of these girls. And so she asks her friend, her buddy Saluk, to be kind of like her friends with benefits, to like figure out if she can be physical with somebody again. And he's like, but you're my friend, I can't do that to you. I feel weird about this. I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about it, right? Because he loves her. He's like, she is mine, she is my mate, I know that she's mine. And their story was really cute. I love the fact that she was able to get back to who she was and like the things that she felt comfortable doing. And he was just like, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to do anything for this because I don't want to scare you. Like the way that he did that, like his gentle nature, just, I loved it. Alright, so the very first book that I read in May was Warrior Girl Unearthed by Angeline Bolle. If you haven't read this yet, you really need to get to it. If you liked Firekeeper's Daughter, you're gonna love this one. Go check out my reading vlog if you haven't yet. I really enjoyed this. Trigger warnings for sexual assault, for there's like remains, there is like a little bit of gore, but not too much, but mostly it just talks a lot about remains, Naspra. These kind of books are always very near and dear to my heart because Angeline Bolle pulls you perfectly into like a mystery-ish, thriller-ish vibe, but then also fully packs a punch with the cultural significance and heritage and family stories and like keeping people together. And I loved it so freaking much. Also, Thank you to Bethany for sending this copy to me. It's autographed. It's signed. Also, the publisher sent me a copy, but I let my mom borrow it, so I don't have that one. But I have this one, and you know what? That's all I need. Bethany did that. Bethany made that happen. So thank you to Bethany. You are amazing. I love you so much. Being friends with Bethany is like being touched by the sun in like the poetic Shakespearean way. So the next book that I read after that was Love at First Step by Jennifer Dugan. Thank you so much to Avon for sending this to me. If you haven't checked out, I actually have a journal entry for that. I will also be including all of the like journal entries that I have for these books in here. This is a sapphic romance about a girl who works at a gym, and she's like wants to really get into business, and she has like this full idea, and her friend who is the owner's son is like, hey, why don't you come to this thing, why don't you like try to network to my parents and we'll see what happens. Well, that absolutely gets botched because she goes into the restroom and she sees this girl crying, and they kind of have like, you know, a girl in a bar moment where they're like, you know, the girls in the bar bathrooms where they're like hyping each other up and stuff like that. Something like that happens, and well, it turns out it was actually the bride, and she ends up leaving the guy, and shit hits the fan. I like this because Lizzie, the way that she approaches like talking to women and socializing and just trying to like flirt and stuff, I'm like, that is me. That this was so ridiculously queer, and I loved it. There was some stuff that a lot of people are not a fan of that I also was not a fan of. Something happens and some people say some really shitty ass things. So be prepared for that. But like, if you want like something delightfully ridiculous but also queer, I would definitely go for this. The next book we have is Heroes of the Water Monster by Brian Young. I rated this a 5 stars. This continues on with the Healers of the Water Monster duology. I don't know if it's going to be a third one, but I enjoyed it. I'm going to talk about it in my Heart Drum video, but otherwise it was good. The next book that we have is Ancient Night by David Alvarez with David Bowles illustrated. This also talks about the Nahua people, I think, and this is about like the world tree. Thank you so much to Levine Quieto for sending this to me. Alright, so the next book we have is Dreams, Vision of the Crow by Wanda John Kewin and Nicole Marie Burton, and I also did a reading vlog on this, so if you haven't checked that out, please go do that. I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Well, Ancient Night I also rated 4 stars, my bad. But there was just some things that I'm like, I liked the storyline, I just don't think I got enough of it. And some of the art was really nice. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go do that. Thank you to Highwater Press for sending this to me. It's really pretty. The next one that I got is The Spirit of Denende, Volume 2, As I Enfold You in Petals by Richard Van Camp, Scott B. Henderson, and Donovan Yakachuk. And this one I rated a 4 out of 5 stars as well. The art I liked in this a lot better. However, I don't know, I feel like I missed something. Definitely go check out the vlog for that. There was some art that I really loved. My favorite piece is this. This is my favorite piece out of the whole thing. Like, if you'd shown me this, that's what I would give. I'd be like 4 out of 5 stars. I also read in that vlog The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag and The Magic Fish, and both of them I rated out of 5 out of 5 stars. So, yeah, if you haven't read it yet, though, I highly recommend The Magic Fish. It was absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning graphic novel. I really liked the main character of the story, though, because she was so cute, and she was so... It's just the fact that she was so people-pleasing, and she was so willing to, like, excuse people for what they did, and it's like, no, honey, you have to hold people to a certain standard, or they'll just walk the fuck over you. The next one that I read was Family Style by Thien Pham, and this one rated a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It made me cry. It came out last month, I believe, in June. It talks about a Vietnamese family who comes over. They have absolutely nothing. Like, they had nothing when they came to where they were, and they had nothing when they got there, and then by the time Thien turned, like, he was in his, like, 40s, 50s, it talks about, like, his family and how his parents were basically the heroines of the story, and it's told in a way of, like, talking about food as well. So it just, like, hit all of my boxes, and I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed it so much. If it wins an award, it deserved it. So that was it for May, and we're going to move on to what we read in June. So the first book we have is The Days of Bluegrass Love by Edward van de Vendel. This is kind of like a classic in the Netherlands. It was published in 1999, and apparently this is a classic throughout Europe. I enjoyed this, but I gave this a 3-star. Like, this was just okay to me, and I think it's just because according to Edward van de Vendel, he actually has a book about Tico and a book about Oliver. I thought they were cute while it lasted, but there were certain elements I was just like, this is fucking ridiculous. I would not stand for this in a relationship, but because it's like, you know, coming of age, early, young, I just, it was not for me. Next book that I read was, I hated it. Okay, so Patience and Sarah by Isabel Miller. This one was my very first 2-star of the year. I did not like it. I hated it. I would rate it a 1-star but at the same time, the reason why I gave it a 2-star was simply because I liked Sarah more than I liked Patience. Patience is the equivalent of like love bombing and manipulative, and I didn't fucking like it. I didn't like it. Okay, so I read this for the classic/vintage lesbian romance book club, and this is the first one. We're going to be reading Loving Her in August. I don't know. It's told in ye old fucking Connecticut. The next book that we have, I also didn't like, unfortunately. Thank you to Penguin for sending it to me, though. Chasing Pacquiao by Rod Polito. I didn't like this. I rated this at 3 stars, but this was a generous 3-star. I don't know why, but there was just something about it that I just did not like. I would read the Goodreads reviews because it sounds like there was some like behind the scene things that were just like not. If you're watching this, Rod Polito, this review is not for you, okay? I didn't like this. I would have much rather had a book about anybody else. I would have rather had a book about Bran. I would have rather had a book about Rosie. I would have rather had a book about fucking this kid's mom. I don't know. There was just something about Bobby that I just didn't like. Also, this is supposed to be about like overcoming homophobia and things like that because of, you know, what Manny Pacquiao had said and like the things, but there was just no, I don't know. I thought it was going to happen sooner, not at the almost like 200, like towards the end of the book. But thank you so much to Penguin for sending it to me. Y'all great. The next book that I read was Mio's Snow Day, but this was just for like a adventures prompt, so it was like a little kid's book. They were like playing in the snow. It was great. 3 stars. The next book that we have is Still This Love Goes On by Buffy Sainte-Marie and Julie Flett. I rated this a 5 out of 5 stars. This is based off of a song that Buffy Sainte-Marie wrote, and Julie Flett's artwork is really wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I think she also did another book with somebody else, but she's also a really good illustrator. I thought this was so cute. I loved the landscapes and all of the little drawings, and like there was like a field of flowers. I loved it. I also loved the color scheme. That was something I really enjoyed. The next one that I read was The Princess and the Warrior by Duncan Ponatia. And this one I rated a 4 stars out of as well. And it is about the 2 volcanoes that are in Mexico. And I just loved the story about it. And also the artwork was pretty fun as well. The next 2 books that I read are for the All My Relations readathon. I also have them on my TBR for July, August, and September. And so I'm just counting them as on that list. But I did read them in June. So I just wanted to include them here. So we have Dawn Raid by Pauline Valuiga Smith, illustrated by Matt Hunkin, and Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. Both of these I rated 5 out of 5 stars. If you like historical fiction, or you like diary entry literature, or if you like if you read about civil rights, or you like if you read about the Polynesian Panthers or anything like that, I highly recommend this. And for this one, if you haven't read it yet, you really need to. It has ace representation. There are ghosts, vampires, all kinds of cool, spooky shit. You should read this. You can read it now during the summertime, or you can read it in the fall time. It does not matter. It was so good, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I read it via audiobook, and it was so fun. So definitely need to read these. That was it for my wrap up. If you, I don't know what to tell you. These videos, most of the videos that I'm going to be putting out are going to be dedicated to my Papa Jerry. R.I.P. Papa Jerry, love you so much. I'm going to miss you a lot. And yeah, if you want to become a patron, the links are down below. If you want to donate to my coffee, you can do that as well. My brother's memorial is coming up next month, and I will have to travel. So if you feel inclined or you don't, send me well wishes. I am really excited I can't wait to wrap up the next month for you, because man, this was, I will say, it wasn't a great, like, it was good, but there were some books that were just like not that good. So
listen to the ending.
Hey, yo.
Can take Evan's drive. What is going on with me and driving? Yes, I can drive very well.
I'm trying to get a bunch of bitches to kneel.
Jonathan?
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Cut the check. Cut the check.
Get that bitch off the monitor.
Where's my husband?